Joining me live now is Shadow Water, Emergency Management and Fisheries and Forestry Minister Ross Cadell is going to remain in that position. Ross, first of all, I want to ask you about the gun laws in particular, about the polling from One Nation. We heard there from Janie. I mean, even though the Nationals didn't vote for the gun laws, your coalition partner did. Have they hurt you?
I don't think the coalition, Liberals didn't vote for the gun laws, they voted for the hate laws. They were against the gun laws. We were united on that in the chamber. Yeah, but they were just bad laws in New South Wales. There was a split in New South Wales on those laws. The Nats voted against the gun laws in New South Wales. The Libs voted for the change in the state. It's just everything's been rushed. Everything's solving political problems, not policy problems. This is what we've seen down here. It's what we've seen there. But we just have to get out there. This is about what we do. We stand on what we believe. If the people don't want us, then the people get the people they do want. And that's how democracy works.
You seem pretty nonchalant about it, Ross.
I'm not nonchalant, but that's the way democracy should work. Democracy works at its best when people stand behind their beliefs and people vote on people's beliefs. We have a government down here now that is all about spin. They have so many in their comms department, so many in their messaging department. They're not about policy. None of their policies are working. But gee, they've got a great messaging department and Australia deserves better.
They certainly do. Forgive me my error on the gun laws. You're absolutely right. But I think what people will be seeing over the summer is that Susan Lee demanded that Parliament come back. She said there was legislation ready to go on these issues, and then it was a complete bun fight there over the last 2 days.
Yeah, because we were ready to come back. We were ready to talk in a very, very bipartisan manner, work through these things, work through on the Siegel report what we can do there, work through on the terms of the Royal Commission what we can do there and the enabling legislation. There were things that could have been done easily. But instead of calling us back with some time to do this and starting that process, the Prime Minister called us back with a bill that was not going to be split and not going to be changed. It ended up being both of those things in a rushed and, I think, horrible way.
And you guys were demanding Parliament come back. You weren't prepared either.
Absolutely. No. We were absolutely prepared to do the enabling legislation on a Royal Commission. We're absolutely having conversations on ways we could implement the Siegel report.
But not on hate speech.
In a better way. No, this hate speech thing was on these 2 days getting this clarity because that's what it was for us. I'm sure there'll be questions on that. But the process should have been better. It shouldn't have been.
Remember, these are the laws. There is no change. In your own party rooms?
No, within Labor. This was not to be split and not to be changed until it was.
In the end, Ross.
And
so
then we're playing catch up over 3 days.
Why did you cross the floor?
Okay, on the end of the 3 days. Because we didn't believe, as a party and myself individually, that there was enough certainty around the protections for the groups we weren't trying to target. So his butt to here and stuff like this and neo-Nazis had to go get them. I had to kick 18 people who were associated with the group out of the National Party when I was State Director. Had to hunt them down, find them, get them out. They have no place in tolerance when they are celebrating violence and advocating violence. But we had concerns. If you go to section 195N of the Victorian legislation that was linked to this legislation, you can have severe ridicule as a bar that is set for this. If you go through my social media posts, any MPs...
The Prime Minister has just dismissed that as if it was to be legally challenged. And look, the Prime Minister isn't the complete authority on this, I accept that. But what groups in particular are you concerned about?
Well, we don't know. This is the thing. Our concerns were, and we put forward, four amendments that would have satisfied us. If we have a sunsetting law after 3 years, that we could actually see how it has gone.
But
did
what
we
groups
move the bar
in particular,
up to
though, because
violence?
This is also on the recommendation of the Director General of ASIO as well. I mean, he's not going to recommend that the Batuta advocate, for example, is caught under these hate speech laws for ridicule. Come on, that's not serious, is it, Ross?
Well, he's not. No. He's not today, but no one is saying Batuta advocate. I don't.
I know, but if you're talking about ridicule, that's the best example that we can come up with. I mean, do you really think that's going to happen?
But no, we thought it was possible it could happen.
Okay.
And laws that impinge on free speech shouldn't make it possible. This is
So
our
how
thing.
would you have
Because
tightened that to make sure that that couldn't happen, but you could still ban these groups? If you're concerned about that, what is your answer to it?
Our answer was to take it back to actually physical violence, because we're talking about psychological harms and things like that in the thing. We wanted it linked to cheering on terrorism or physical violence. There was one amendment that we said that where it had to be linked to supporting, advocating or celebrating terrorism.
But that would be too broad to capture Hizb ut-Tahrir, wouldn't it?
No, it would not have been. I think you saw people like Mr. Bazzuto came out and said these were the things that he was fighting for to change. And man, yeah, he was out there talking about these things. We consulted with a lot of people and we talked to some judges, and some judges were comfortable with where it was and what it was. But we're seeing activism judges. We're seeing these things that would like to move the bar. This was our concern, is where we are right now is a snapshot. This was close. Let's not pretend it's not. We weren't absolutely, this is horrible. But what happens in 12 months' time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time, if we continue this activism, if we continue moving the bar, where does this end up?
Okay, fair enough. But in the end, you know the rules. You've crossed the floor. Will you stand down?
If I am still a member of the Shadow Cabinet next week, it is because of the understanding, the tolerance and the leadership of Susan Ley. I understand if you do the crime, you have to take the time. And if it is so requested, I will be stepping down from Shadow Cabinet.
Okay, but you won't go of your own volition. You say that there should be an exemption for you. Why?
No, I'm not saying there's an exemption at all.
No,
literally,
but why should you
there are conversations.
Why should you have an exemption here? These are the rules. If you go against cabinet
100%.
solidarity, the obligation is that you step down. But you say you're not going to. You're tempting Susan Ley to sack you.
Not at all. If it is, there are conversations taking place. I think I've walked away from things going on because there was a do not rush this conversation that took place earlier, and I stand willing to take my responsibility, seek with convention, and resign if that is the case. Okay,
but that is the convention. But you don't seem like you're intending to resign.
You might be surprised what's going on in the background, but I
give us an idea, Ross.
That I have to take the time.
Make me not guess here. What is going on in the background? Are you just hoping Susan Ley will give you an exemption here? Do you want to stay on in this portfolio?
I would love to stay on in this portfolio,
okay. But you knew by crossing the floor there was a risk that you couldn't.
100%. 100%.
So you won't resign, but if Susan Ley sacks you, you accept that?
I am willing to resign. I have prepared to resign. There is a conversation taking place that is not at my level, that is seeing what goes on from that at the moment. Okay, so your future and the future of your fellows that cross the floor, that conversation is going on between whom? David Littleproud and Susan Ley as to whether you can remain? Is that your understanding? I think there's a leadership group that I'm not part of. Right. But what would your argument be for staying right where you are? I have no argument. I won't be bitter if that is the case. I understand that is what goes on. Our party room. Some things in Parliament are important, Laura, and this was important to me and it was important to my room. And I'm not going to pretend I need an exemption. I'm not going to pretend anything like that. I was so vexed by this that when my flight was delayed on Sunday, I couldn't make Shadow Cabinet. I put a submission in writing via a WhatsApp group just to try and have a say. I have gone through the process as best I can. I've made the decisions. I'm not putting anything on social media saying, look how brave I am, I voted against this. This was done solemnly and for the right reasons, and I will wear the consequences of that, as I should, as more politicians should in this place, is stand up and take your pain when you do the wrong thing. And if I have done that, I will go without a question. I will support the coalition. I will support Susan Ley, because what we need to do is take more individual responsibility for what we actually do, not what we'll say we'll do. And too many people on all sides of politics, every person, sit there and say, this is what I stand for, but when pressed, they don't. And if your principles become hobbies under pressure, or transactable under pressure, they are just hobbies. And too many people down here are like that. Ross, I accept that this hasn't been an easy decision for you, but what do you think it does to party rules, precedent setting, if
you are allowed to remain where you are.
And that's why I don't think I will be. Let's be honest, I don't think that will happen. But if it does,
you don't think you will be allowed to stay?
No, I don't think I will. But I think if it does, if I am, it shows a tolerance of the Liberals, a tolerance of Susan Ley, that there is an understanding there. I think because this isn't a problem, this wasn't our problem. This was our bloke called us down, tried to rush things through, do these things. Could we have got there in a week or 2 weeks with some minor changes? I think we probably could have. I was just unable to do that now, but I accept where we are, accept what we are, and so I can't say much more than that.
Well, you can a little bit. Let me ask you this. If you are forced to resign, do you think that would lead, or you and the others are forced to resign, do you think that will lead to another split between the Liberals and the Nationals?
I hope not. To be clear, I hope not. I don't know. There's no motivation in our room.
I mean, is that
absolutely
a threat
has,
being
and there is
made?
No, there is no motivation in our room, not a bit. The Liberals were great to us in coming through. We had John O'Donoghue, and we had Michaelia Cash, we had Andrew Wallace, we had all these guys coming to our party room, trying to help us get some understanding, trying to get us some closure. It was great working with them. It was the way the thing should have worked. Our room couldn't get there. I couldn't get there. The Liberals have been great to us through this process. Many people can look at the same circumstances and come back with different conclusions. We have done that. So I do not want to see anything blow up from this. That is why I'm more than willing to take my medicine, should it be the case, because I don't want to blow things up.
But do you understand that if you do take your medicine, it might blow things up? Has that been discussed?
Yeah. Yeah, clearly it has. And we don't want that. We discussed this could happen, and we didn't want to do that. So I hope it doesn't. And anything can happen. But the reality is, I think, the consequences of what this government has been doing, and its rubbish policies with great spin, is going to come home to roost. We are where we are now in the polls. I see that. You can't pretend we're not. But as consequences come home for this, when we talk about, get back on cost of living, when we look at the effect of migration is having on rental prices, on housing, all these things will come. But I would love to be part of that team. But if I am not, I will support those that are there, because that is what you do. And I knew what I was doing going into this.
Just finally, is Susan Ley doing a good job? Does she have the authority that she needs to go into this year, which has started very willingly?
Yeah, she does, because the other bloke is just going around, playing party politics, playing student politics. This is going to bite him as we go there. Susan, as our leader, has started to expose the real Anthony Albanese. He is an angry man that doesn't like being shown up, that doesn't like being proved wrong, and he's doing this. The wheels are falling off his policies. His ministers are running in all different directions trying to cover things up as they do this, and she has exposed that, and she will do that more as it goes on.
Ross, you've been very generous with your time today, but as you'd expect, I needed to pepper you with a few things. You're very generous. Thank you. I appreciate it.